Listener question time. We're back. It's us. Over to us. Over to us.
Thanks, us.
Thank you, Gemma. You are beautiful and clever and funny.
Thank you to everyone who sent us listener questions
Yeah.
for the segment. Always good to, give
Get
the
them.
listeners what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
Which includes this first question
Answering questions.
from Beyonce. Gemma.
She said, are there any characters who you think are currently being underserved in terms of not getting adequate writing? Yes.
Not going to say no.
Yes, I think so.
So we're not just when we talk about characters that aren't getting adequate writing, we're not just talking about characters who don't appear enough. It's it's characters who do appear but aren't really getting written in the best way, and maybe characters have changed over the years. Characters who aren't as good as they used to be.
By best, you mean consistent?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to me the most important thing about a character is consistency. And
you don't want to be watching the character saying they wouldn't do that, they wouldn't say that.
That is the most. I think that's the cardinal sin of soaps, and Coronation Street is not afraid to get in the confession booth every now and then just to repent for a few.
Yeah, making a character act a certain way for the plot or for a cheap laugh, and that's my biggest bugbear. And I think probably lots of people would say the same thing, that the main time when you think a character is being written badly is when they're turned into a bit of an idiot just for a laugh. So we're talking, Gail, who we haven't seen much of recently since she's been in Thailand, or seen any of recently, but for many, many years she has just become a shadow of her former self. Exactly. And watching her on the classic episodes on ITV3 as well do show how she used to be such a sort of a headstrong, clever, powerful woman, and now she's just a massive joke. Same with Steve, who I remember when we started doing the podcast, he was one of the favourite characters, and he was a
mainstay along with Michelle, because they were both Landlord and Landlady of the Rovers.
Yeah. And he would always get voted as one of the top characters. And maybe he still would, I don't know, but I don't think that people are loving him quite so much at the moment, because they can't seem to write him in a way that where he's taken seriously all the time. Same with Brian, same with Kirk, although he's not, he's always been a bit of an idiot, obviously, Kirk, but I think that's maybe some of his lines aren't as funny as they think they are. Kathy's another one, and I don't think she gets called out for it quite so much. But when Mel Hill came into the programme, Kathy was very different,
I think. Character, because she would have that hoarding
problem,
secret, and her dead husband, and
they had her paired off with Roy, didn't they? And she was very art, and it was a romance between her and Roy, and they'd go off to do the art galleries together and everything.
Yeah, she definitely was a woman of substance.
But now she's just not.
She's just Gemma's funny little friend.
Who works at a kebab shop and looks like, she's dressed up with her pigtails and everything, and she's not at all how I pictured Kathy would turn out to be when she first came into the programme. Melanie Hill is a really, really capable actress, and I've seen her do serious stuff before, even thinking to when I used to watch her on The Bill, and I think that she's getting a bit shortchanged. I'd really love there to be a serious story with Kathy again, but I don't think the Coronation Street writers have any intention of making her like that. And I don't know whether Mel enjoys being, comedy Kathy, or whether she's thinking,
well, don't put words into people's mouths.
No, but I think as long as they've got her together with Brian, we're not going to see that side of her again. So I wouldn't be adverse to splitting her and Brian up just to serve the character better. Who else are you thinking of? Have you got any ideas for people that are badly written, for people that you think so?
Well, I think we've both said, and we're not the only people that have noticed this, that in general, it really does feel like Corrie's missing something in terms of character development, because feels like hardly anyone's in it, but then they're concentrating a lot on characters that I'm not bothered about, and they're intensely in it for weeks on end, and then they disappear, and other characters don't seem to be in it at all. Like, some of our favourite characters, Like, for example, Jenny. Jenny used to be quite complicated, and her relationships with the Connor family and the factory lot were always in a kind of a delicate balance, and she was never sure of her position, and there was a kind of fragility in amongst her bravado. And her relationship with Rita and this sort of sweet kind of like proto family.
And with Gemma as well.
That's exactly what I was saying. That proto family, the sort of the fostered children almost. Where's that gone?
Jenny's really just there now for, making a funny comment over the bar.
And
maybe getting drunk every now and again, and it's a shame because I still do really love Jenny. But you're right, I kind of fell in love with Jenny the character for the depth. Especially during the Jack story with Kevin. And also, they're just not giving her enough time to develop that at all now.
Even though we never really liked her with Johnny.
I never had.
Well, okay, it wasn't our first choice.
No, that's, yeah.
Right, but... Okay, and what I mean to say was initially didn't really go much on the relationship between her and Johnny, but since they got married and everything, and they've gone through so many things together, I've really bought into their relationship. But now it feels like it's either Johnny or Jenny behind the bar.
I know.
You never see the pair of them together. There's nothing about their relationship. They even had the bit about her wanting to turn the Rovers into a B&B. What's she done about that? Last we heard, she was organising the building work and trying to work out how much the ensuite bathrooms were going to cost, and then it's gone.
I mean, they have shown earlier on in the year that they can still write incredibly well for both the two of them, because I'm thinking of that scene after the court fiasco, after, when Jenny knocked down Liz and everything, and Liz disappeared. And they had those brilliant scenes with the two of them at the hotel, which was just the characters sitting there talking in the hotel room, and there were some lengthy scenes of just dialogue between these two, and that was absolutely perfect, Jenny and Johnny stuff, but there just hasn't been enough of that.
Yeah.
For a good 8-9 months.
The things that I miss, that I don't think Corrie's doing very well, is just everyday relationship scenes between characters that we like. For example, do you remember when Eva was in it? The trifecta of Leanne, Toya and Eva was just my favourite thing about the show. Those three sisters were so cool together, and I really felt like we never really hit the peak with that. I thought there was way more stuff they could have done with them, but obviously Eva left before that could happen. And now, I mean, are they even related to each other anymore?
Yeah, we don't see it, do we?
Toya's hardly in it. Leanne's hardly in it.
Even when they are, I'm not kind of getting that, Battersby.
I would love to see.
That we used to have. Toya's being written a little bit too
po-faced.
Yeah, po-faced, a bit sneaky as well, and she's lying about things, and she's obviously keeping the baby thing a secret, and she was kind of buying in, and when Imran was being sneaky about the flat with Claudia, was Toya buying into that?
No.
I don't think they...
She went straight and told...
Yeah, she did, but she was also being sneaky about pretending that she'd split up with Imran as well, and she's being shown as being not a particularly good
No, I think
liar.
She's all right. Yeah, she's a bad liar, though.
I'm just thinking she's supposed to be very intelligent, but I don't think we're seeing enough of that side of her.
I don't think Corrie's very good at that at the moment.
No.
Carla, rubbish at the moment.
Yeah.
And has been since she came back. I mean, I know this is the thing we said before about the issues-based storylines. Are they detrimental to what a soap is supposed to be about, which is entertainment and strong, larger-than-life characters? Carla's transformation from bolshy factory boss to kind of...
She's just had everything thrown at her.
Yeah, and she's reacted in a realistic manner, but that's not what I want out of a soap all the time, especially not to the detriment of one of my previously favourite characters.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care if Carla left tomorrow. I don't think anyone would notice. I'm sorry to say, because she's not in it.
No, Beth's another one. Although she's got a lot, much better over the past month through the Sinead storyline. Honestly, a huge transformation. But over the last few years, she's completely turned massive cow, hasn't she?
Yep.
That's been a real shame. I'm also a bit wary of Emma as well, only because since the stuff happened over summer with her dad dying and Steve and everything, I don't think she's had quite the fizz as she once had, because it's like now she can do serious drama.
Yeah,
so exactly. You've got to be very, very, very careful with her.
Don't forget what made a character popular, like you did with Gemma, where you've taken a character who is funny because she was bolshy and unafraid to speak up for herself, and comedic in a... She was always a little bit gross, but they've just kind of like turned it up way too much, and they haven't managed to get a good balance out of her, because she used to be a character who did what Emma did, which was to balance the comedy and the tragedy a little bit more, and now she's just turned into a buffoon. Everybody knows the problems with Gemma's character. I don't need to tell everybody.
I think with a lot of these characters, they could solve quite a few of the problems by just having scenes where the characters are just talking.
Well, this is what I was saying earlier about
a bit more character driven and not just reacting to plot points that are happening.
This is why I think that Toya's being underused, because a lot of the time she could be a sounding board for people instead of pushing them into weird conversations with people that they wouldn't normally talk to. They could talk to Toya. I don't know. I don't
know. This is a bit depressing. I wanted to. Those are my main picks, but I do think
the question was
who needs better writing.
Adequate writer, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it is worth talking about characters if there's anyone that we think the writers are always bang on for. And I think, and I could still reel off a list. There are plenty of characters who are very easy to write for, and it must be a gift to write for. And when you know that you're writing an episode and such a characters are in it, or the main characters in it, you know you're going to have a great time writing that dialogue. Like, David is still easily up there as one of my favourite characters, and I don't think that his character has suffered at all. I think he's always the same,
consistent,
dry, sarcastic, witty, caring,
and he's good because
deep
he's
character. He always has been.
Yeah, because he can comment on the ridiculousness of a situation. I think that's fun for the writers to put those kind of like fourth wall almost lines in. I don't know.
Yeah.
Abby's brilliant.
Abby's still good. I don't have a problem with her.
They've done really well with maintaining her tragic background story.
They've got a really good balance.
Rehabilitating her to the point at which she's now just anyone.
No.
Like, she's still got that lingering kind of tragedy, and the fact she hasn't got her kids, and her shaky relationship with Seb, the fact that she hasn't got any relationships because she's still trying to piece herself together. She's but she's still cool and true to herself.
I was going to say, she's still very, very true to how the character originally was.
And she's funny and friendly, and
it's funny that she got a little mention in today's episodes where Brian was saying, you know that I'm teaching Abby English still, and that was yet another one of those dropped storylines. It's like,
are you?
Is this leading to something?
I mean,
or is it just a chance for Brian to do a massive Shakespeare quote for 30 seconds?
I thought that was so funny when Peter Gunn started doing his Shakespeare. It was I bet.
It was kind of funny, but I didn't write any notes.
He was in a movie with Miley Cyrus, don't you know? Or was it Taylor Swift? I can't remember. I was going to say, I'm just worried because I feel like it's heading Abby and Kevin relationship, and I don't want Abby in a relationship because...
I still don't mind. I think we differ.
No, but Michael, remember when she was with Peter and it was such cringe? She was wrapping herself in a blanket on the boat, and he's there going... Oh,
I think Peter's a bit more of a Casanova. I think that Peter's a bit more of a Casanova than Kevin would be. Yeah, and I think it'd be a lot more down to earth. I'm
just worried because I think sometimes when a character is in a really good place, there's such potential to throw a spanner in the works.
I know. Other characters that writing is generally spot on for, I'd say Moira is still, there's very, very few misses with her lines.
Yeah.
She's not in it very much at all, but 95% of the time that she is in it, she is absolutely 100% true to her character and always has funny lines, and she is... That really must be a gift to write for.
And they still manage to sort of create intrigue around her too. Like, what is her tragic backstory? Like, she can't keep a man. She desperately just wants a relationship.
And I still don't feel like they're like... underserving us. They're like purposefully keeping it a bit of a mystery.
Yeah, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
It's the same as Mary and her mum.
Well, the same with,
I don't want to know how much of what she says is true.
Almost, it's similar to Mary's story in that she used to be a bit more of a side character, and once they developed her more into a fuller character, she kind of lost some of that mystery and intrigue, and people got a little bit sick of her. And I worry that something like that might happen to Moira. I don't know. On the subject of redheads, Claudia, I think, is always very well written for.
I mean, she could say anything. She could read out the ingredients on the
she's
cereal
still
box,
exactly the same as she always was, I think.
Such compelling dialogue.
And then sort of also on the minor characters, you've got people like Ruby, Dr. Gaddis as well. They're always, I mean, they haven't got much character. What can she say? So, but what they have
Dr.
got
Gaddis
is always the same. Yeah.
Oh, I wish she was my doctor.
And although we haven't seen as much of him at all recently compared to the first half of the year, I think that Nick has been pretty consistent.
Yeah, good.
In the way that they were making him, again, just so sarcastic and doesn't care about what anyone thinks about him, and
so good. Yeah. I just don't want to live in a world when I can't. Remember when he went and he was like stuck in the bog, and everyone was like, "Nick's the worst character. Get rid of him. He sucks." And then he came back, and we were like, "Ugh, who wants Nick back?" And now he's like, "Nick, just never leave and stay the way you are, you precious angel."
I hope to see some more good Nick and David scenes. If David does indeed come out in 3 weeks' time, we didn't even discuss this earlier, did we?
Oh, no.
But David's release is supposedly in 3 weeks' time.
Well, the fact that they said 3 weeks' time was a soap phrase of doom, if ever I heard one.
It's because if he's going to be involved in this riot, he didn't want anything to do with the phone last week, did he? Because he doesn't want anything compromising his release.
That was a bit of a...
Yeah, so he's going to have to, stay and hide out this riot if he actually wants to get out and see his Shona.
Oh.
Okay, so we've gone off and changed the question a little bit to try and end it on a more positive note, but those are the characters that I would say are...
Well, no, it just goes to show you that it's not like Coronation Street is just awful and doesn't know what it's doing, but some of the characters that we really like, unfortunately, are victims of this, what we would say inadequate writing.
Yeah, but maybe we're just saying that because they are our favourite characters and we want them to be in the show all the time.
Well, I mean, and there are certain characters that wouldn't be able to tell you. Like, for example, Michelle. I don't know, unless she suddenly turned interesting and nice for once, I wouldn't be able to tell you whether the writing for her had changed. As far as I'm concerned, she's always been a mardy cow.
One thing I would say about Michelle, though, is at the moment it seems a bit unrealistic that she's got absolutely no suspicions about Robert. And I would have thought that the suspicious, nasty Michelle of the past would maybe have picked up on something by now, but never mind that one.
And, like, for example, another character is Alia. I think they've been pretty consistent with her in that she is self-obsessed, self-interested, but yet completely unaware of how selfish she is, character. And I don't know whether they mean for that to be the case with her, because she's obviously mad about this Jeff thing, and it just so happens that she's in the right because he is manipulating her. But I mean, she's been passed over again for a work position by somebody that she trusted. Like Michelle, according to Alia, screwed her over to get the job working at the hotel, and now her grand's gone behind her back to get a partnership at the place that she works at. I just think I can't remember what the other character was that was like, Kate, where they just, I don't know how aware the show is that this character is like dog poo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are they writing it purposefully, or is it just they're just a victim of the various storylines that happen around them?
Yeah.
Because Alia is such a little cow. Everything always is about her.
But she's not a cow that's interesting to watch, like Tracy has been in the past.
Yes.
Right, Gemma, next question, please.
Jodie wants to know, what are some of the most ridiculous storylines you remember over the years?
This is funny, and on the whole, I would say Coronation Street doesn't have utterly ridiculous storylines, because the benchmark is you got all these other like US soaps and European soaps to compare it to that we know very little about.
And like Spanish like telenovelas.
Yeah, exactly. You hear about all these absolutely crazy things that go on in there, and like there was that woman who was possessed by the devil in the hospital room that we were watching a few.
Now that has never happened in Coronation
Nothing like that has ever happened. I suppose the Blackpool Butch was a little bit close, the closest they've got to this.
But even when Corrie does that, they have to explain. Like they can't have anything.
Yeah. They can't have anything that is completely supernatural or unexplainable.
And they have to like even like Mary and her interest in UFOs or like the paranormal was like, haha, what an idiot! These things aren't real.
Yeah, I mean they did have Ivy's ghost once, but even
didn't they have? They had was it Blanche's ghost when?
They had Amy pretending that she could hear Blanche, but it was just pretend. The Blanche, the Ivy ghost was a bit closer to the verging on the ridiculous, where Vera goes upstairs and she says that she can see Ivy's ghost, and this was like a year or two after Ivy died, and they didn't show it exactly, but I don't think that they made it completely obvious that she didn't see her ghost. I don't remember, that was just when I started watching it. I don't remember how much they were into it. That was a bit silly. But really, if I think about ridiculous Coronation Street stories, the one that always used to get brought up was Derek and Mavis's Garden Gnomes. And when I was doing a little bit of research to help me answer this question earlier, and I was like typing in Coronation Street ridiculous stories, Derek and Mavis's Garden Gnome story back from 1994, 95 or so, always came up as part of the article. So this was basically one of their gnomes in their garden got kidnapped, and I don't know how long this story ran for, but it was just them worrying about what's happened to their gnome Arthur, and it would send them postcards from around the world saying, I'm here now, and then they like got a gnome ear. Exactly. They got a gnome ear through the post, and at the end of the day, it turned out that it was Norris who had kidnapped this gnome because he wanted to get his own back on Derek for something or other, and then it all came out on Norris's stag do maybe or something like this, and everybody said that story was utterly ridiculous and stupid. But it kind of sounds to me like if that sort of story happened now, it wouldn't be quite so notorious for being stupid. It just goes I wouldn't say that that's any stupider than, say, Gemma getting pregnant with quads.
It does seem very tame.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this has happened. I mean, I think this happened to my babysitter when I was younger. Somebody did the same thing to her. This has like been a kind of a prank that people pull on each other in this country. I mean, it's not like it's not very frequently, but it's in our collective consciousness as something that is a funny joke to pull on somebody. It's to take their gnome and pretend that it's gone on holiday.
I think because back in the 90s and earlier, Coronation Street was so just slice of life sort of thing. But anything that comes across as a little bit weird and a bit unusual, or I don't know, can a gnome kidnapping be called sensational? It would automatically stand out. And we did find, and I was reading you a few quotes from this, an article from some newspaper back in 1996, 97.
That's right, yeah.
And I can't remember what the link for it now, but it was hilarious. It was like this 25-year-old article or so saying Coronation Street doesn't really reflect actual life. Yeah, and it's too kind of...
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember what it was saying. It was.
I thought you would have had this.
I know. I haven't got it written down. It needs to go with the issues. It needs to sex up. Basically,
yeah,
it was saying that they've
not got enough young people having sex in it.
Yeah, basically,
like how young people have sex now.
Yes. So back then, a gnome kidnapping was seen as being ridiculous.
Rather tame.
But yeah, I do think that this quad story is ridiculous. Not that quads don't happen, but they don't happen very much.
They don't happen. Yeah. Very much naturally.
And I wonder how many people who, once they heard about the quad story, went, "Ooh, this could be a really interesting story," or "Wow, this is going to be an amazing story," versus the number of people that went, rolled their eyes and this is going to be ridiculous. And I said earlier, it's not as ridiculous as it could have been. There's not been a Gemma doing something stupid of the week, but
it's certainly not living up to.
I'm not feeling it's an issues-based storyline when I'm really sympathising with people who have multiple births and everything.
No.
They're dropping the odd bit in here and there, but...
It's completely in service of nothing as far as I can see at the moment, because it's not too sensational. It's not... I don't think it's grabbed headlines. I don't think people are talking about it as other than to say that's a bit stupid.
And I think that in years to come, people will look back on it and go, yeah, that was a bit silly.
Yeah, especially because I don't know what's going to happen with them, and I can't see Corrie having... I don't know, it just is bleh,
I
silly.
could really do without it.
Yeah.
I suppose also if I was thinking about ridiculous storylines, some of the suspension of disbelief or retconning kind of things.
Yes, this is what I was going to say.
Well.
I think if you're going to say what makes a ridiculous storyline, the things that I don't like are the things that we alluded to in the previous question, which are things that rewrite people's past, things that characters do that don't make sense what we know about their character, and like relationship. People putting together two characters that really don't go together.
So I would say
those are some of the things that really annoy me the most.
I mean, the Billy storyline from a few years ago was pretty unrealistic. Not only the fact that it turns out that all along he was the one that was involved in Susan Barlow's death, but also when he fell off a cliff and then was up and walking again 3 or 4 months later.
Yeah,
I would say that was pretty ridiculous.
And he didn't realise that he was involved in this. He lived there the whole time and it was just coincidence. It would have at least made sense if he had known that he was responsible for this person's death, and that's why he was in Weatherfield, to try to sort of make up some kind of guardian angel looking after the Barlows to make up for his past misdeeds. No, he just kind of realised it.
Yeah. The whole thing with... I always remember with Hayley when it was revealed that she had a son from when she was a man, and she apparently fathered a child there. Again, not completely a retcon, because they never said that she didn't, or they kind of did.
They did. They make out that she was so uncomfortable with her body that she never had any relationships with
I don't know if they had a reason why, but she definitely did tell Roy that she was, pure as the driven snow.
Yeah, because I guess now they've retconned it to say that she meant as a female,
exactly.
But I think that's a bit unfair to the character.
Yeah, I think that was a massive mess up for Hayley, giving her a son. That was ridiculous. As is the thing of Beth not really being married to Kurt because she was still married to Daryl, which... Is she still married to him, maybe? I can't even remember.
Yeah, that was rubbish.
Any kind of big retcons like this, I don't like at all. And
yes,
if they hadn't been a retcon, maybe I wouldn't have minded them so much.
No, I agree with you.
Like
and things where things have been hidden from the viewers, and they expect you to swallow that this has been going on the whole time, but you just haven't noticed. Like, Tim can't read, and the whole time he's been walking around with a newspaper, but he just been looking at the pictures, or he just didn't want people to know that he couldn't read, so he had it as a prop. Stupid.
Sharif having a secret affair.
Yeah, Sharif having an affair for years, and it just so happened to be on Saturday. So
there's nothing particularly ridiculous about a story about a man having a secret affair, but the fact that he clearly hadn't been, and they decided to make up this story just to add a bit of drama.
I don't like it when things happen off screen, and sometimes I do, but only if they've kind of like had a very subtle hint or something like that. Where
yeah.
I also don't like. I didn't really like relationships where I don't think they're suited to each other. Like, the
classic one for me there is Tina and Peter.
Yeah, Tina and
Peter.
Peter.
That was ridiculous. Although that actually did get quite exciting towards the end with Tina's death, but I don't know whether it was worth it.
Stella and Jason were another pair of...
Oh, yeah, that was a weird one. Well, I would say if you're thinking about weird relationships, Norris and Mary marrying was pretty ridiculous.
Was really dumb.
That didn't work at all. And now they're not, and very, very silly. What else was ridiculous? Oh, I've written down the whole story about Ryan not really being Michelle's son. That was another kind of one down the retcon, and that was something that was almost buried, wasn't it? Before they brought Ryan and Ali back, I think Coronation Street kind of wanted to forget that they ever went down that route, because at the time everyone watching it thought, no, this is utterly ridiculous. The baby swap, that wouldn't have happened. We've always been led to believe that Ryan is Michelle's son, and now you're telling us this. But they've gone round for another round, and I'm kind of used to it now. Although it almost seems to have been retconned again that they're brothers, because that's what they kind of call each other, even though they're clearly not.
Yeah, I think it's worked out for the best, really.
Yeah.
Luckily for them.
Yeah.
Also...
Oh, what about Molly and Kevin for stupid couplings?
Yeah.
When I was originally going to design the trophy for the Bobbins Award, for the Conversation Street Awards, one of my ideas for the characters to put on top of that was Molly and Kevin, because that was always something stupid that these two would get together.
Another, like we said about consistency with characters and stuff, when Scylla came back and she had a completely different personality, that was silly and pointless.
I wouldn't count that as a ridiculous... that's more of a disappointment than a ridiculous story.
Well, sometimes... Yeah, but these are all Bobbins nominations I'm talking about. Sometimes a story lodges in your memory because it was so ridiculous and laughable, and then you kind of grow fond of it in retrospect, like the mule face.
I was just about to say mule face. I barely even remember what happened, but I think mule face was a stupid story that was from Fizz coming back from Jenny's maternity leave.
Just such low effort of calling a company mule face.
Yeah,
and then going, that'll do.
It was something to do with counterfeit t-shirts, wasn't it? And
like fake
Luke
designer
and Chesney
t-shirt.
and people going on a t-shirt raid.
Yep, so stupid. Maria marrying Pablo.
Yeah, that was a bit silly.
Yeah. Brian being superstitious and being attacked by ladders and stuff.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that. I mean, you're just chucking the salt over the shoulder. That was silly.
It's a bit where we were supposed to believe that Pat Phelan could whisper to somebody unconscious and make them change their memories.
Yeah. So there's quite a few, basically, we're saying.
Yeah, there's been loads, and like, because previously we used to every year have a category for nominees for the Bobbins Award, which is part of our awards for the year. And then we decided that it was too negative and that we should just be celebrating the good stuff that's happened. So we decided to make an entire award
for the silly things.
For stupid things called the Jonies, which we have in January. And so for 2018 and 2019, there's just lines and lines and lines of all these stupid things that have happened in the last... So we've got a lot more stuff about what's happened in the past 2 years than... I don't think it's been any more ridiculous than it has been normally.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Like Brian throwing up at the nativity play dressed as an angel swinging.
Yeah.
He wasn't dressed as an angel, was he? Just swinging around and being sick on everybody.
Yeah, but that was more a moment than a silly story, which I think Jodie was asking us about.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's fine. I reckon we've covered most of the ridiculous ones. But it does seem that if you think about, more modern, i.e. the last 10 years of Corrie, that a lot more ridiculous stories crop up than in previous years. But it's all to do with getting the ratings, getting the pictures on the front of the TV guides,
getting people
trying to get people to talk about it and hoping that they're going to say that it was funny rather than stupid.
This is the thing, like most of them I think they've got away with it, because when you look back on it you go, oh, that was really dumb, and it doesn't make you mad like it did at the time when it happened and you were like, why are they doing this? It doesn't make any sense. I think I'm more annoyed by inconsistencies with characters in the everyday stories than I am with just them coming out with stupid general stories. Like I just saw one then, but I can't remember what it was. But anyway, it's okay for there to be stupid things going on.
As long as there's lots of good stuff happening.
Oh, hang on a minute. I think it was here. You've just moved the notes.
I'm sorry.
Oh, fake Gavin. The whole thing with the fake Gavin with Michael and Andy and all that stuff. That was silly and ridiculous, but it turned out to be the characters involved were good, and it also paved the way for Andy in a basement. So what can you say?
Exactly. We got a few comments from Patreon members about this, didn't we? So Gemma, do you want to do a bit of reading for me?
I don't know who even wrote this one because you've not got a name.
I haven't got a name for this person. I'm sorry. Oh, this is Rebecca.
She said Dev needs to stop being hammy. When he's serious, he's great. Same for Gail. Don't write her.
The writing, isn't it?
As comedy Gail. Beth needs to go back to being nice, and Kurt needs better writing and being funny, as jokes don't hit all the time. This is her stuff about ridiculous storylines. The Michelle baby swap, Al Malone freezing to death, Seb falling off a ladder, Pat whispering in his ear, Molly and Kevin's affair, and Peter and Tina's affair after not hardly talking to each other in the past.
Yeah, so I think she's thinking the same lines as us for a lot of those ones.
Adrian says Beth is getting better at writing recently and shown herself to be pretty talented. I hope that keeps up.
Definitely. Go on, you do the rest of it. I'm not coughing a bit. It's fine.
Fiona said, I think the principal character of Who Needs Better Writing is Gail. She's gone from being a successful cafe owner to being a ridiculous buffoon. Her hapless attempts at being successful at anything don't make her funny, they make her a joke. I'd also like writers to remember that her and Sally were good friends at one time, so it would be nice to see them have some actual friendship time.
I think Gail is the ultimate answer for who needs better writing and quick.
Yeah. Beth is getting some nice writing just now, so it would be great if she continued in that way. I don't particularly like Beth, but at least she'd had some decent lines recently. Paul could have been written better, which would have made the impact of the historical abuse storyline stronger. Ridiculous storyline. Sophie and Paula's relationship, because what exactly do they see in each other? Anything involving Gail, apart from her monologue, is usually ridiculous. Michelle baby swap, the Robert, Vicky, Michelle rubbish. Kate's insane desire to have a baby for about 6 episodes.
Oh yeah, when she seduced Adam last year, that was...
I know, she's desperate for it. And now she's like, actually, no, what I really need was a holiday. They've all really recently annoyed me, but the worst has been Badger Biddy's ludicrous failure to report a potential child protection issue. I realise Weatherfield has slightly different legalisation than the rest of the world, but that's quite a big difference.
Yes. The Weatherfield legislation not really following the rest
stuck on the ring road.
I guess for that one, Billy's just saying he doesn't believe that Joseph is in imminent danger because he's a bit too young.
In his esteemed and learned opinion as a priest, this kid's not in trouble.
Exactly. Right, thank you to everyone who's written in there, and if anyone would like to share any of their ideas about silly storylines or poorly written for characters, or even really, really well written characters as well, so you can keep it a bit more positive, go for that. Write us in and let us know.